Hello, everybody. Today makes it day 7 of our November series, and this month, because I miss my dad so much, I've been talking about him all month long, but I've been talking about him for like some 3 months now. Um, I'll probably be talking about him for the rest of my life. He's been the greatest influencer of life and living as I know it, unconsciously, and that's why I am actually deliberately documenting the specific things I learned from his lifestyle. Now, it is possible that you are wondering why, after talking about kindness yesterday, I still want to dedicate a full day's video to kindness. Oh well, let me say this here and now. The world is changing, the world is becoming harsher for people. And if we all could be a little bit more kind, could show a little bit more kindness to the very next person, irrespective of who that person is, the world definitely would be a better place. Depression would be on the decrease. People would not commit suicide as much as they do, and we all would have better and easier lives. I'm sure you know that that is possible. And I'm sure you know that if you were just a little bit kinder, it would actually become more in the society. Kindness, that is, will be more where we live. So today, I have too many stories I can share of how kind my dad was. He was always kind to me, but more than me, I want to share stories of how kind he was to the people I brought into my house. Now, when I was in school, I was a member of Believers Love World, and that meant that we had a large fellowship that had a lot of people that were always carrying themselves, so to speak, up and down. And there was this year that accommodation in UI went from 90 naira to 3,500 naira. What that meant was that many students who had come from their parents' houses with 90 naira suddenly didn't have a place to stay. Now, the implication of that was that because we lived, say, some 15 minutes away from the University of Ibadan, I had approximately 12 to 15 girls move in with me in my dad's house. It was crazy. And then the fact that we came from the same fellowship meant that after playing for a while, we wanted to spike up our spirituality, and then we'll start praying. I had a friend back then, Uju, who couldn't pray, without feeling such passion that she would start crying, and then she could be crying at 3 a.m. and my parents would be able to sleep, worried that she's crying, but they never, ever, 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 ever asked any of those girls who didn't have money to pay for accommodation to leave their house. Now, irrespective of how much money they had, irrespective of the kind of budgeting they had, all those girls knew for sure that there was going to be at least one meal for them in that house. Most of the time it was dinner, because in the morning they would dress up and go out. But then when they come back from class, we're all hanging out, gisting, making a lot of noise. And my parents would still feed all of us. When there was assurance of food, some people who were not sleeping over started coming at night. Now, I remember a particular night that all the girls in the house had finished, literally finished the food. And when we in the house were done eating, we had just, I think it was one or two pieces, no, it was 2 pieces of moi moi left for my parents. And there we were, knock knock, 3 guys show up at the door. I remember that Bidemi Shola was one of them. I remember that Sydney Asiri was one of them. And then they knocked on the door and they just came in and said, we're hungry. We're talking 8:39 on a weekday evening when we're done cooking, and there's even no food to cook again because all the girls have eaten it up. And my parents looked at each other, and my dad reminded my mom of when they were students and how food was the most important thing, and they gave up their meal for these boys. Of course, the food was not going to be enough, so they had to supply, I think, gari to go with the moi moi they were going to eat. And that was one lesson that stood out for me all through my life. Now, I don't know how you have just one plate of food to feed you and you decide to give it up to someone who is not even, I mean, you're already doing enough, as it were. You decide to give it up to someone and go to bed hungry because you remember when you were in that person's shoes. I never ever got upbraided for bringing so many people home. And then, I mean, I didn't have a choice about bringing so many people home because all my siblings brought so many people home during their own time. So, I mean, who am I to disappoint the family and not be true to my nature and bring people home and feed people and have them wear my clothes, have them share my parents, which is what they ended up doing. Those people had a fantastic stay in the University of Ibadan, partly because of my parents. Now, when they see me, they always ask after them. They always remember those times. They always realize that they were the ones that helped them through those very, very traumatic and difficult times of their lives. That could have meant them dropping out of school, them having major issues, with their education. But these people made a difference. Kindness is what we need to make a difference now. The economy is doing whatever it wishes to. Sparing a meal for the next person is what we need to make a difference now. It's beautiful to have a career. It's beautiful to earn so much. But if somebody's life is not being changed because you're achieving so much, then maybe, just maybe, your achievements would be worthless. Now, that kindness was something my dad did all through his life. He always had somebody living with him. He always had somebody whose fees he was paying. He always had somebody he was feeding. He always had somebody he was clothing. He always had one family or the other he was supporting in any way he could. Who are you supporting? Whose life is better because you're there? It's an easy Saturday for me. I'm already dressed in my casual red polo with my Jounty leather cap from Martena Lady store. I'm going to be having fun, but I'm going to be ruminating on these things I've learned from my dad, especially the bit about kindness. Please help me immortalize my dad. Make sure you extend a hand of kindness to someone today, this month, this year, next year, and for the rest of your life. It has been good, let me just say that, for me, talking about my father so much this month. And I thank you for being a part of my story. I thank you for helping me process my grief by listening to me talk about him so much. We go back to business and money and setting goals next month. Until then, do take care and please be kind. It's extremely important. Thank you so much. Bye.